Everyone who either enjoys or has enjoyed the Call of Duty franchise remembers the first title in the series they played. For those who grew up on the PC, that title was likely the original or maybe the sequel. For others, maybe they got into the series around Call of Duty 3, or perhaps you were among the millions who joined the ranks during the Modern Warfare era. Not me though. I grew up with the GameCube and my selection of gritty World War II shooters was limited, and while the little purple, or in my case silver, lunchbox didn't get an exclusive COD game, I'll never forget my first playthrough of Call of Duty 2 Big Red 1. Following the route of the 1st Infantry Division, the game is set in the North African, Sicilian, and Western European theaters of World War II. In contrast to modern COD titles, the group of fellow soldiers you follow actually have distinct personalities and you care about them. So much so that when I first saw this moment,
we gotta get out of the open! Vic, get this door open! I'm on it! Nothing we can do.
I was shocked out of my mind. You see these guys grow from green eager beavers during the North African campaign to war-weary veterans near the end of the Western Front campaign. Even Brooklyn eventually stops bothering to correct people, knowing it doesn't really matter.
For that building! Take Brooklyn with you.
I'm from the Bronx, Sarge.
Get in there!
A little addition I love is the inclusion of a private fresh out of basic during the final few levels. His jumpiness is a marked contrast against the relative calmness of the other guys.
Sure make this a hell of a lot easier.
Look out, Stukas! There's no time!
See modern Call of Duty games? This is called gradual character development. Perhaps the greatest aspect of the characters is the high quality voice acting. Yeah, sometimes you'll hear the same lines during certain firefights, which does bring you out of the immersion once you notice it, but you can tell the voice actors actually cared about giving the best performance possible.
You see it? Lousy crowd bastards.
I still can't believe it.
That son of a bitch. Selfish, mean-spirited bulldog was the toughest soldier we had.
Gather up. Everyone all right? Now maybe we can say a word or two about Vic.
Now, for a console FPS from 2005 released on the then dying 6th generation, Big Red 1 maintains a high level of graphical fidelity. Well, aside from whatever this is supposed to be. Pretty sure only sewage looks like that. And everything looks properly dirty and abused, the dust effects are impressive considering the hardware being used, and there are times when the amount of stuff going on at once would be enough to make some modern games drop frame rates. I do have a problem with the main German tank of the game being the Panzerkampfwagen 4, or just the Panzer 4, especially in the North African levels, where are the Panzer 2 and 3s, although bonus points for actually having a few times when an Italian tank shows up, and sometimes the amount of shaky cam causes issues when trying to aim properly. Also, some levels needed extra lighting, as it's occasionally hard to see what's going on. If you were to track this game down and play it today, you'd be surprised at how well it controlled. There are moments where the response to button inputs can seem a bit stiff, but for the most part, everything is extremely smooth. Each weapon, whether it be the classic M1 Garand, the infamous MG42, or my personal favorite, the Kar 98, feels distinct and are modeled accurately. Having a simple 2-weapon limit will cause the player to always debate switching out their current loadout for other guns from fallen foes, though the safest bet is to usually carry one rifle and one submachine gun. The only real control quirk is when driving a tank. Even though the Stuart was a light tank meant for scouting and anti-infantry roles, I don't think it should be able to maneuver quite this fast. And why does the Panzer IV control the exact same way? This is a medium tank meant for an anti-tank role, yet here it manages to turn on a dime. Even though the infantry controls are responsive, some of the button placements still strike me as weird. Swapping weapons is done with the up arrow on the D-pad, and crouching/standing is done with the X and Y buttons. Enemy AI also has moments of unfair balance. For this review, I played through the game on normal difficulty, and for the most part, the fighting is as expected. However, there are times when the Germans and Italians will suddenly just snap over to your exact position with the utmost pinpoint accuracy. Saying the difficulty spikes are random would be an understatement. Obviously, a few spikes are to be expected, as having every encounter be a cakewalk would get boring fast, but certain deaths I experienced just felt cheap. Oh, and don't worry, your friendly AI isn't necessarily the greatest either. You literally walked into my path of fire. You did pass basic, right? Sound design, the music in particular, is near perfect. I already spoke on the voice acting, but weapons, aircraft, and vehicle noises are accurate. The ping will never not be amazing, and the orchestral score fits the levels well, except when it decides to just kinda not be there. Outside of the single-player campaign, there are little bonus features such as the option to rewatch the military channel clips from the campaign, or little boxes of historical information on the equipment from the game used by both the Allied and Axis forces. Obviously, the GameCube version would not be able to support any sort of online multiplayer, though not even having split-screen multiplayer I find to be a lost opportunity. Unless the developers didn't want to shoe in something they felt didn't belong, which, you know, remember those days?
There they are! They're using our own guns against us!
Call of Duty 2 Big Red 1, ignoring my nostalgic love for it, still comes out to be a good World War II shooter. Seeing your squad mates grow throughout the war, fighting through 3 different theaters, and the sheer enjoyment from the weapons goes a long way, but doesn't completely negate the issues from some unbalanced AI, lighting problems, and minor control quirks. It may be single player only, but this war story rounds out with a final score of 8.2 out of 10.
Hey, come here. He was there. You should have seen me. It was incredible. Caught these 2 French bastards by surprise, took them both out. Single-handed. Tell them, would you?
In Brooklyn?
Hey, how many times I gotta tell you I'm from the Bronx?
Just be glad you're not dead.
Hello everyone, thanks so much for checking out this video. If you like what you saw and you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and then ring that little bell so you've always been notified when I upload future videos. I've got several reviews planned for October, and then I've already got things in mind for the rest of the year, so it's going to be a fun time on my little channel. Also, if you feel like it, why not go ahead and become a patron on my Patreon? I could really use some more, and every dollar you donate goes directly to helping the channel. Thanks!